The millionaire humiliated the waiter, but in the end, he discovered a shocking truth. He was the richest man in the city, and that night, sitting in the most expensive restaurant, he was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. Looking at the waiter, his contempt was immediate. But little did he know that this simple employee was hiding a secret that could change everything. A story of arrogance, humiliation, and a powerful twist that will touch your heart. Stay until the end, because when the truth is revealed, you will never look at anyone the same way again. This is the true story of how a millionaire discovered in the most shocking way possible that no amount of money can buy respect.
If you love emotional stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Here, we always have emotional stories that touch your heart. Now, shall we hear today's emotional story?
Luxury ballroom. Chandeliers sparkling. Tables covered with impeccable white tablecloths. Guests wearing expensive suits and dresses. In the center of the room, Ricardo Montenegro, 52 years old, a millionaire real estate developer. Tall, perfectly combed gray hair, a practiced smile. He's the type of man who walks into a room and makes sure everyone knows who he is. Among the waiters, João, 32 years old, in a simple uniform, with a discreet posture, attentive eyes, calm demeanor. He carries a tray with champagne flutes and observes everything in silence. Nobody knows much about him, and most guests don't even bother to ask. The conflict begins. As João serves a table, a guest lightly bumps into him, spilling a few drops of champagne on the sleeve of Ricardo's suit. Ricardo, with disdain. "What's this? Can't you even hold a tray, boy? This is a business event, not a dive bar." The room goes silent for a few seconds. Some guests give discreet chuckles. João takes a deep breath, looks down, but doesn't respond. Ricardo, continuing for everyone to hear, "This is why some people will never get anywhere." The humiliation is public, and João's face burns with shame. Conflict development. Most people, at that moment, just saw a waiter being humiliated, but nobody knew that this man had a story that could turn everything upside down. Quick flash, João in a simple room studying contracts, notes scattered on the table. Back at the party, Ricardo continues talking about business, unaware that João knows every detail of the proposal he was trying to close that night. Initial peak of tension. As Ricardo presents his project to a group of foreign investors, one of them asks a technical question. Ricardo, visibly nervous, fumbles with his answer. João, who is passing by, overhears and, without meaning to, quietly murmurs the correct answer. The investor turns, surprised. "You understand this?" João hesitates, but answers with clarity. In seconds, all eyes turn to him. Ricardo smiles, but it's a forced smile. He doesn't like the attention the waiter is getting. Ricardo, interrupting. "Don't worry, gentlemen, he's just the waiter." The intrigue grows. One of the foreign investors, Mr. Tanaka, starts talking to João during a break. They speak fluent Japanese. The entire room watches in silence. Ricardo, whispering to a colleague, "How does this guy know Japanese?" Mr. Tanaka smiles and says, "He just explained a point of your project that you couldn't." Ricardo's face hardens. For the first time that night, he loses his confident posture. High tension and emotional wave. At that moment, something changed, and it wasn't just in the eyes of the guests. Ricardo was beginning to feel something he rarely felt, a threat. Ricardo tries to minimize the situation, but João is called by the investors to sit at their table. The waiter who has always been invisible is now the center of attention. Ricardo, irritated, goes to the event manager and demands that João be removed. The manager responds, "I can't do that, Mr. Ricardo. He's here as a guest of the main investor." Absolute silence. "What do you mean? He's the waiter." "Not exactly." On João's face, he just smiles.
In the final moments, everyone discovered that João wasn't just a waiter, but what no one imagined was that he held a secret capable of turning the tables against the most powerful man in that room. Partial discovery of the truth. Ricardo watches, incredulous, as João talks calmly with the investors. The manager approaches and, in a low voice, explains. João is an independent investment consultant. He was invited by Mr. Tanaka. He asked to help with the event's organization because he wanted to see it from the inside.
Ricardo gulps but maintains his fake smile. He approaches the investor's table, trying to regain control of the conversation. New conflict. The unexpected offer. Mr. Tanaka, looking at Joao, says, "Your insight into the project is very sharp. Have you considered leading its expansion with us?" Silence falls over the table. Ricardo clenches his fist, trying to hide his tension. "Gentlemen, I think you're mistaken. He doesn't understand the whole structure like I do." Joao, politely, excuses himself and pulls a tablet from his bag. He opens a file with detailed notes and projections, much more complete than Ricardo's. The investors lean in to get a better look. The hidden past. One of the investors asks, "Where did you learn all this?" Joao responds, without boasting, "I worked as an analyst at a multinational for 8 years. I left to take care of my mother who got sick, and afterward, to make ends meet, I accepted temporary jobs as a waiter." The faces of the investors, they seem even more interested. Tension at a high point. The Millionaire's attack. Seeing the situation spiraling out of control, Ricardo decides to attack. "Gentlemen, with all due respect, he's exaggerating. These projections, who can guarantee they're reliable?" Mr. Tanaka responds, "We can. He sent us this data weeks ago, which is why we asked him to come today." The blow is direct. Ricardo is speechless for a few seconds. Emotional wave. Public empathy. As the conversation continues, quick flashes show Joao's past. He's taking care of his mother in a simple room, working extra hours as a waiter, studying contracts and markets late into the night. Behind a simple uniform was a man who had already carried gigantic responsibilities and who knew more about that project than its own owner. The surprise contract. The investors decide they want Joao as a partner. Ricardo tries to argue, "But I already had the project approved with you." Mr. Tanaka, firmly, "Not exactly. We said we would analyze it. And now we have found someone who understands what we need better." Ricardo feels the pressure. The room seems smaller, the music more distant. He realizes he is about to lose not only a Millionaire contract, but also his reputation. Dramatic decision. The final offer. Joao looks at Ricardo, pauses, and says, "Mr. Ricardo, I don't want to hurt your work. I can propose something. We work together, but with an equal voice and mutual respect." Ricardo's pride is wounded. Work side by side with the waiter he humiliated? He hesitates. And it was at that moment that Ricardo realized that the only thing that could save his contract was to accept that he had judged wrong. The shock of reality. Ricardo takes a deep breath, looks at the investors, and forces a smile. "All right, we can try." But inside he is broken. The man he despised minutes earlier is now his business partner. What Ricardo didn't know yet was that this partnership would reveal something much more personal and painful.
Ricardo thought the worst was over, but he was about to discover that the real turning point was yet to come. And when it did, he would never see the world the same way again. Change of scenery begins. A few weeks pass. Joao and Ricardo work together on developing the project. The atmosphere is professional, but filled with tension. One afternoon, during a meeting, Joao receives an urgent phone call. He gets up and leaves, visibly shaken. Ricardo, curious, observes from a distance. The personal incident. The next day, Ricardo finds Joao arriving late to the office, a waiter's uniform under his arm. "Still working as a waiter?" Ricardo asks with a hint of irony. Joao sighs, "Just on weekends to help with the treatment of a young boy I consider a son." Ricardo, intrigued, asks more. "A son? Are you married?" Joao shakes his head. "No, his mother was someone very important to me in the past." The shocking revelation. Later, during a charity event organized by the investors, Joao brings the boy he mentioned. When Ricardo sees the boy, he freezes. The boy is the exact copy of his own son who had passed away years ago. Ricardo approaches, his voice trembling. How did you know his mother? Joao takes a deep breath and reveals her name was Anna. She worked at the cafe I used to go to every day. Before she met you, she was already pregnant, but she never told anyone who the real father was. Ricardo feels the ground disappear from under him. Are you saying that... Yes, the boy is your son. Maximum emotional wave. The silence is heavy. Ricardo puts a hand to his face, trying to hold back tears. He realizes that he spent his life judging and despising people without knowing that one of the greatest investments he could have, his own son, was so close. The man he humiliated not only saved his career, but also gave him the chance to know the son he never knew he had. Resolution: Ricardo's transformation. In the following days, Ricardo completely changes his attitude. He begins to treat Joao with genuine respect and forms a true bond with the boy. He also starts participating in social events, not for ostentation, but to genuinely help. Joao, in turn, accepts the partnership with Ricardo and becomes an official partner in the project, now no longer as the waiter, but as a respected businessman. During the official contract signing, Mr. Tanaka smiles and says, "Curious, fate brought you two together. But in reality, it wasn't a coincidence. I already knew everything." Ricardo and Joao look at each other surprised. "You knew he was my son?" Ricardo asks, "Tanaka, I knew you needed each other more than you needed the contract." Moral and emotional closure. A person's value is never in the suit they wear or the job they do. Sometimes the biggest investment we can make is in the people we judge the least. Ricardo, Joao, and the boy walking together, laughing. And now, I want to know, do you think Ricardo truly changed, or was it just the impact of the revelation? Leave your opinion in the comments. I'll read every one of them. And if you stayed until here, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. The best is yet to come in the next videos. Click on the recommended video now and keep getting emotional with other stories like this.